Hi, George. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us today, especially as you're just moving into your revamped property. So congratulations. But can you cast your mind back to right at the beginning when this extension was just a figment of your imagination? And what was your vision? What were your plans, and how did you plan to use this space?
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be on the call. Um, yeah, the vision was always move in, do an old house up, and do it so it can be a 30-year home for ourselves and our children who are sort of both below the age of 10. So it was always designed to do that. It's taken us took us actually 3 years to sort the planning out, get everything ready. And then actually, we then just spent another a bit more time finding somewhere else to live while we did the house. So we had to move out, and we spent a year renovating an entire house to modernize it, extend up, extend out the back, modernize it, do the driveway, etc. And one of those is a big feature extension out the back involving a very large skylight, which you can see above my head.
Yes, it's very big. So I gather it's like 2 meters by 4 meters. And what
It
was your
is, yeah,
concern
yeah.
with having such a big roof light?
Yeah, well, first off is getting a piece of glass this big over the house. It's we originally approached it with two pieces of glass, sticking them together, and then eventually we had to make a single piece. On its own, it weighs about 700 kilos. We had to make sure the pitch was right. We had to make sure the thickness of the glass was right. We had to make sure it was strengthened, it was laminated, so if it did crack, it wouldn't crash in one go. So there's a huge sort of like operational challenge when you've got a piece of glass this big. But the reason we did it is we have a north-facing house and we wanted to maximize the light coming into the house. So we're happy to deal with those challenges because the long term aim gives us, a really nice feature item in the house and some really nice natural light coming into the most used piece of the house, which is the kitchen and living area. So yeah, so involved a crane, involved a lot of conversations with the glass company, but we got there.
Yeah, and with such, were you worried about light and heat because it changes during the course of the year?
Yeah, we were. I mean, I think in winter we have to have a light this big to get as much light into the house as possible because it does get dark. As I said, it's a north-facing garden, and we got a three-story house, so the sun doesn't naturally fall through the hair. And when it does get round the house, because it's a south-facing front of the house, north back. So when the sun does get round the side, the angle in winter barely breaches the depth of the skylight. So we needed to maximize the square footage of the light to get light into the kitchen area in winter. Otherwise, it's a very dark kitchen. And then for summer, the the opposite challenge is almost too much light and too much heat, and that's where WindowTreat came in handy for us.
Yes, and what options did you look at in order to when you looked at
Yeah,
showing?
it's a good question. Yeah, we looked at a number of different options. I mean, I can't remember was it internet or I just saw a design or two somewhere. But once I saw a single piece blind, I was convinced that's what I wanted. There were a number of options where they did two pieces together. A lot of companies did I don't know what it's called, where it sort of folds, concertinas folds back in.
Yes, pleated.
Pleated, yeah. A lot of companies did pleated they were much cheaper, but had a lot of issues in terms of durability and staining and also just the look as well. So for us, we had a couple of objectives for it. One, it had to block out light. Two, it had to block out some heat. Three, it had to look high quality. And four, it had to be a single mechanism item. So what I mean by that is the blind started one end and went all the way to the other in one unit. And then obviously with a skylight that big, you've then got challenges around. Then raises new challenges such as tension, making sure you've got a really tight, taut sort of blind that doesn't sag in the middle when you've got a 2 meter gap and a 4 meter length. So once I'd sort of put in all those sort of five, six, and also color aesthetics, seven criteria in. really, there are very few companies who meet that. WindowTreat did. So here we are.
Yes, well, it's amazing. You were so structured in your criterion to choose a shading system.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of research online.
Yes, yes. So you came across WindowTreat and presumably you met Chris. You'd have had a video call with him. How do you find that
Yeah,
process?
yeah, really good. I mean, one thing I would say is the technical. So I was project managing, and we had a builder, but I was essentially project managing the builder. I'm the owner of the house, but I also was project managing it. Um, And the one thing WindowTreat were very, very good with is the level of technical information to be able to help make an informed decision was far in excess of anything else we saw in the market by some distance. Lots of firms knew about bits and bobs about it, but once you combined it all together, the information Chris was able to provide was incredibly handy. I think the other thing is, we wanted to put the blind in, but also build a platform. So we got a sort of a square gap, but we then needed to put a shelf for the blind in so that it's hidden. And then we also wanted to put a shelf above that so we can put LED strip lighting in. So at nighttime, we've got a perfect rectangular lighting system that goes above it and reflects off the skylight because there's a good sort of foot between the blind and the top of the glass. So Chris was able to give us the technical spec of what the runners were, what the box at the end was, and then also sort of some advice on what we needed. So I could then give that to the builder and tell him how far to build out the wooden frame beyond the natural sky glass limit. And even though the glass is 2 meters wide and maybe the floor span that you're pointing to now is only say 1.8, you wouldn't know it because by the time you get the angle from where you're standing, you get the full 2 meters. So Chris was really instrumental in making sure we could build a high quality sort of uh, shelf for the blind, so you can't see it. Even though it's aesthetic, it's very pleasing, but we didn't want to see it. We wanted it to be hidden, and it sort of come out the ceiling naturally.
Yes, it's really well concealed. Well done.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
So, and you chose WindowTreat, which we're delighted about, and to be involved in
Yeah.
your great project.
Uh,
So then you had the installation. You met the installation team, and how did that go?
The installation was great. They came around, they looked at it. First thing they told us was that we hadn't built it right, which was upsetting at the time. I was in New York. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. I took a phone call to tell me it wasn't right. But being 5 hours behind was my fault, not window treats. I didn't know I was in New York. But I was upset because actually it turns out our builder, it's very difficult when you're building a space that long to make sure it's absolutely parallel both sides and at the end, and it's not a parallelogram, it's a perfect rectangle. Now what actually ended up happening is our builders built a perfect rectangle, but they built it as a slight parallelogram. Now what that meant is that when the blind opened, it would have opened in line, but it would have meant at the start you would have seen a bit of one side of the blind first at an angle. So if you think at an end like that, it would have opened, it would have
Mm.
come out like that, and at the other end, it would have sort of shut like that. So I was a bit upset to take call at 5 o'clock in the morning, but actually, if I hadn't taken that call, we wouldn't have been able to adjust the ceiling to account for it. And there's a lot of discussion between the builders and Window Treat, but ultimately we ended up moving the plasterboard to align with what Window Treat suggested. Once we got all the lasers out and lined it up, they were really good at giving us advice on that. So we eventually were able to do that. Funnily enough, everyone had a different opinion about what was straight, but once we got the lasers out, it was all good. So now it does open, it does close, and it's absolutely parallel to the ceiling, and it's perfectly rectangle at both ends, which is really reassuring because that would have been, I've got OCD on this, so that would have really bugged me after a while if we had not noticed it. So the survey was really important. More so than I would have realized beforehand.
Yeah, and it's very common for things to be slightly out of rectangle, especially when
I can
plastering is
imagine.
involved. Which is why the survey is so important because it's measured
Yeah.
at all angles, diagonals, you name it. It's very, very precise, and it's
Yeah,
bespoke. It's a bespoke build for you.
it is. Yeah, it is. And having someone who could give that advice. So you've got the technical advice up front, then you've got the on-site advice because technical meeting, reality. You always got to find a bridge to that, and then making sure you've got the right product in advance. So, no, honestly, the whole thing is, I couldn't have asked for more for the level of information, transparency, and advice was absolutely top notch.
Well, thank you, thank you, and I'm sure this will be helpful to other people
Yeah,
viewing this little video of yours.
yeah,
It'll be helpful for their projects going forwards too. So ultimately, you've got the blind in, and I
we
guess you're
do.
moving in for the first time. But have you had the chance to experience it in action and feel the difference?
We have, yeah, we have. I can show you when you're ready, but it makes a difference immediately. First off, like it's a really sunny day. It's whatever April the 4th here, 2025. It's a really sunny day, and we've got the blind closed, and it's making a big difference. We could have it open, but it would probably be too much light. So it's already being used, and we're really happy we installed it. The kids are watching TV right now and they're not blinded by the sunlight. So, job done.
Yeah, and I've just got two more questions. The penultimate one, the million
So,
dollar question, if you want to be almost New York with this, is would you recommend WindowTreat to friends and family?
yeah, it's a really good question. The first answer, the simple answer to that is yes, I would. Absolutely. I think we're really, really happy with what we bought. I think when you're going into these things, it's really difficult to know what to budget for a blind of this size. And I found myself, I found that difficult. And I was sort of like, is it 2 grand? Is it 5 grand? Is it 10? I found it really difficult to know what to budget. And as I looked at several different companies, there were a lot of companies that operated within a range of, maybe 60 to 100% of what we ended up paying WindowTreat being 100. Like a lot of companies that was slightly cheaper. There's a few companies that were more expensive. Of the level of information we got from everybody else, and I'm very, very happy we went to 100 and didn't try and cut corners. And I don't think we could have asked for any more for what we got for that 100. I mean, we could have paid 120, 150% more, 50% more than what we did. And I don't know we would have been any happier than what we got. So I think, yes, I would recommend it. I think value for money, I think we got a very, very good product and a very good service for it. So maybe it was slightly more than the others, but there's a number of things I regret in this house, designing and building and spending money on. This is absolutely not one of them. I'm really happy with what we bought.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's music to my ears, George. I've got
Yeah.
one last question. I think this is what everyone wants to see, is to see your blind in action, to open and then close. And I won't say a word because otherwise the camera will spin on me. So I'm going to stay quiet for a couple of minutes.
Uh, well, I've just opened it. So it was shut. I'm opening it. So you've got a 4 meter gap. It's probably going to take maybe 60 seconds to close the whole thing. So I think the speed is absolutely fine. I mean, any quicker and probably a bit worrying. So no, I mean it's already sort of 40% open already. I don't know if you can see, but it will go, you're talking probably the worst editing ever. But you can see already how much light is coming in. You can see what a bright day it is. Um, so you can see how important it is to have it, and you can see like you can't see any mechanism up here. You've just got a shelf, and it just go. The runners are hidden behind the shelf. Yeah, no, we're really really pleased with it, and I think it looks great.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I love what you've done with the concealment as well. And the shelving
Yeah.
is inspired.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think concealing is one of those things where you just need to plan ahead because you got to plan for the builders way before. So, we're in the build now, it's April. We were probably looking at this option back in September. So,
Mm.
you're talking, or maybe October, you're talking 6 months from knowing we wanted to put this in to making sure we could get the builders to put it in, to put the frame in place before the plasterboarding, before the painting, before the flooring, before everything else, before the blind comes in 6 weeks before. So, if you're going to do it for us, because we're designing it, from afresh, it wasn't sort of retrofitted it. We needed 6 months, but because we knew what we're doing, because we had the right support, we're really happy with what we've been able to install.
Yeah, that's
There you
great
go.
advice. And
Closed again.
thanks. Yes, great advice. And we love to be engaged as early as possible in the process so we can impart, our considerable experience on build
Yeah.
projects. So to anybody watching this, contact early. There's no sales pressure. It's just we give you the facts.
Yeah.
Um,
No, absolutely. The earlier the better.
George, thank you. And I hope you really love your 30-year home um, as you move forward. And many congratulations to you and your family.
Brilliant. Thanks so much and have a lovely day. Cheers.
Bye.